I want to get to this woman who lied about being black. I think this is kind of funny. It's sort of really not news, but it's something I wanted to point out because I have a sort of a broader point that I wanted to make about this. So this is from the Daily Mail, and she said, I'm a culture leech. I'm a culture leech. African-American history professor at George Washington University admits she's been pretending to be black her entire career in an online confession. So for those of you who don't know Rachel Dolezal, she was this person who lied about being black as well. And basically, people, I don't know who eventually, was it her who exposed herself? But this is a picture of her in real life. This is a picture of her basically in blackface. And that's who Rachel Dolezal is. And basically every morning she would get up and make her hair nappy and like give herself like a spray tan or go to the tanning salon to make her skin darker. But this is how she really looks like. She has freckles. She's probably, of English, Irish descent, Anglo. Looks very Anglo there. But this is her, working for the NAACP, pretending to be a black woman, a half-black woman, I'm assuming, or what they call in Brazil, a pardo, pardo, African, whatever you want to call her. That's Rachel Dolezal. So now we have yet another one of these instances. I am a culture leech. African-American history professor at George Washington University admits she's pretending to be black. She's been pretending to be black. Jessica Krugbrain, revealed on Thursday in a bombshell Medium post that she has lied about being black her entire career. Krug, an African-American history associate professor at George Washington University, admitted to deceiving her friends and colleagues. She said in the blog post that she is white, Jewish. So white is not capitalized here, but Jewish is. And white Jewish? What does that mean, really? Jewish and was raised in Kansas City. It is reminiscent of the scandal involving Rachel Dolezal, a former NAACP leader who was exposed in 2015 for being white. It was exposed in 2015 as a white. You're exposed as a white. All of you out there watching this show, I'm going to expose you for the whites that you are. A professor of African-American history at George Washington University, who was publicly identified as black, has now admitted that she's a white woman from Kansas and has been lying about her race for years. Jessica Krug, 38, revealed on Thursday in a bombshell Medium post that she has lied about being black her entire career and admitted to deceiving her friends and colleagues. She said in a blog post titled, The Truth, and the Anti-Black Violence of My Lies, that she is white, Jewish, and raised in Kansas City for the better part of my adult life. Every movie I've made, every relationship I've formed has been rooted in the napalm toxic soil of lies. To an escalating degree over my adult life, I've eschewed my living experience as a white Jewish child in suburban Kansas City under various assumed identities within the blackness that I had no right to claim. First North African blackness, then U.S.-rooted blackness, then Caribbean-rooted Bronx blackness. So she's tried to be like every type of black that exists. And here's the thing, is like we don't have to go through this entire article. Yeah, it's pretty funny. I think she goes, didn't she get on like some video or something with like she tried to have like this black scent where she tried to like do like an Ebonics thing. There's some video floating around in the internet of her. Maybe someone, there's probably a video in this article. Fugitive, modernities, and this is her. Oh yeah, this is the video here. By the way, I can do better Ebonics than this. People said that my English accent is actually pretty good. My Ebonics accent is way better. Here's this video here.
I also want to call out all these white New Yorkers who waited 4 hours with us to be able to speak and that did not yield their time to black and brown indigenous New Yorkers who thought that their sense of, I thought cops was here to protect us, but I guess they're not. Boy, you think that this sort of like shock and empathy thing is the move. Oh, so a couple of things. You was talking about, talking about moving against the gang database. What's up with that? Because last I checked, that's still operating. Last I checked, that's still up. You talk about us to show up, been shown up. in all these neighborhood council meetings trying to fight gentrification. Ain't nothing changed. And then real quick, I want to talk about some of my experiences in the Bronx on Thursday. So, you know, y'all heard from a few people who were there, and thank you, much power to all my siblings who were standing up, my black and brown siblings who were standing. Y'all know what it was, right? It was led by a group called Decolonize This Place. The NYPD is a colonial occupation force. Let's be real honest. Y'all know they're being trained by...
Oh, man. Oh, man. Oh, that is the worst Ebonics that I've ever heard in my life. What'd she say? Trying to fight against gentrification, yo. Y'all heard? Shit. Be trying to fight against gentrification. This is a colonist movement. What did she say? What was that one part about? What'd she say? New Yorkers thought they were sense cops. What'd she say? What was that one part I wanted to talk about that? Moving in against the gang database. Oh, that's interesting. You know, we talked a lot about the gang database that you got to learn to speak jive turkey. You got to learn to speak that jive turkey, brother. White boy cracker. Nothing but a cracker. The gang database. So they've been trying to get rid of a lot of these gang databases. Is that the plural form of database? Gang databases throughout the country. In Cook County, they were successful in getting rid of this gang database. They said it was racially biased. It contained too many people of color. And that, you know, and they're trying to do this in many other cities across the country, trying to remove the tools from the police, trying to further deconstruct law and order, further destroy law and order in order to remove the tools from the police now with this gang database thing, that they need these tools in order to track these people and determine, you know, how much of a threat these people are, and they have their information in the database after they've been released from prison, which they shouldn't be in the first place. And, you know, they declare these gang databases as racially biased. There's too many people of color. Well, it's like, well, yeah. I mean, if you look at the breakdown of the demographic breakdown of gangs in this country, you can go to gangcenter.gov. You'll see that there's no white gangs. there's no white gangs, at least in terms of, you know, you might find your like motorcycle club or something like this. You'll watch your Sons of Anarchy, but this is not like reality if we're talking about gangs, right? Gangs are mostly black and Hispanic. That's just the fact, and it's been like that for a while now. And so they've been trying to like get rid of these gang databases, and a lot of these people have actually been successful in this, but that's just terrible. I mean, and the thing is that have you ever seen anyone pretend to be white? Like, yeah, I mean, you might hear like a black friend of yours make fun of another black friend for speaking too white, or you know these sorts of things. And this is a big problem within the culture. And this is something that Don Lemon talked about 7 years ago, where he said, you know, stop making it uncool to speak proper English. Stop making it uncool to pull up your pants or finish school and things like this. But there's a difference from, you know, speaking white or talking like you're white, which is just ridiculous, by the way, and pretending to be white. Like, when was the last time that you were, well, maybe Michael Jackson. Maybe Michael Jackson, but he wasn't saying that he was white. He wasn't pretending to be white. He was just some crazy guy who dyed his skin, you know, who was basically lived his life in whiteface. But there are no people out there that are pretending to be white, that are pulling the wool over the eyes of the American people, pretending to be white in order to join these massive white organizations which don't exist, whereas there are with this, right? We had Rachel Dolezal, who pretended to be black to get into the NAACP. We have this person who pretended to be black. We have Elizabeth Warren, who pretended to be Native American in order to get a leg up in society in terms of her law career. And so what does this show you? This shows you that there is no white privilege, that if people aren't trying to be white or pretending to be white in order to get a leg up in society, in the institutionally racist society that we live in, then that goes to show you that white privilege doesn't exist. That what Oprah said just a couple of weeks ago, where she said that no matter which rung of the ladder of success that you are on, if you are white, you have a leg up in society, that's not true. Because at every step of the way, we see people pretending to be other things other than white. Mindy Kaling's brother pretended to be black to get into medical school. Rachel Dolezal pretended to be black to get a leg up. Elizabeth Warren pretended to be Native American to get a leg up. And then we can go to other things, and I've went over a couple of these things before. You look at some of the largest mass shootings that occur in history committed by black Americans that aren't on the mass shootings database. If they were to be on the mass shootings database, the database would show that 90+% of the mass shootings that occur in America are committed by black Americans. There was a 21 people were shot in Washington, D.C. a couple of weeks ago in one single shooting incident. This was a gang shooting, not on the mass shooting database. 17 people were shot just a couple of weeks ago, or 14 people were shot just a couple of weeks ago in Chicago in a single shooting incident, not on the mass shooting database. Most of the interracial attacks, this is never mentioned in the mainstream media. So at every step of the way, socially, culturally, in the media, in academia, all of the protections that are in place are to protect all of the other groups of people in this country aside from white people. White people are the only ones that don't get these protections. White people are the only ones that face criticism in the mainstream media, right? White people are the only ones that are, a mass shooting is committed by a white person. They're the only ones that are blamed for these mass shootings, even though if you were to include gang shootings, which they should be included in these mass shooting databases, by the way, if you were to include these gang shootings where 4 or more are injured or killed, you would see that it's mostly black Americans who commit mass shootings. They join hate groups at the highest rate. This is not mentioned. Destroying entire cities. And even that is blamed on white people, white supremacists or white Antifa, and all of these other things coming from conservatives, coming from the liberal mainstream media. And so affirmative action, right? The DOJ just concluded that Yale is discriminating against white and Asian applicants. We've known this for a while now. You look at small business loans for minority-owned businesses. You look at historically black colleges. You look at medical school applicants like Mindy Kaling's brother who pretend to be black. You look at every step of the way, institutionally, systemically, culturally, socially, or otherwise, the leg up in society goes to everyone else aside from white people. So that's basically the point that I wanted to make on that. And that's the woman who pretended to be black there with a terrible accent, by the way. My goal is to eventually become a powerhouse of truth. That is why it is imperative that you check the links in the description below and go to either Patreon and Subscribestar and support us for at least the cost of a cup of coffee a month. We already have writers writing for TheRedElephants.com, but we'd like to bring on more in the near future. By the way, at TheRedElephants.com, you can also find t-shirts, hats, and other products. Check the links in the description below. It helps us out tremendously.